Tarkov has a myriad of different mechanics in the game that you can take advantage of, many intentional and deliberate, and some potentially not as much. For how complex EFT can be sometimes, it makes sense that there may be some interactions or opportunities not meant to work the way they do, or just not supposed to be in the game at all that you can currently utilize if you know about them. And one of them has been in the game for almost its entire life, which is the ability to quickly and instantly reload your offhand weapons through some menuing while your inventory is open. It's never been actually talked about by BSG if this gimmick is intentional or not, but it hasn't stopped people from using it a lot over the years. I've personally known about it for a long time and have found myself using it when the circumstances call for it. But a mechanic like this that may not be intentional begs some questions. Should it be removed from the game? Does it make the experience in EFT worse because it exists? Does removing stuff like this make the game less interesting as a whole? These are some good questions to ask, and hopefully by the end, we will answer them in a way that can make sense and lead to some nuanced conversations about mechanics like this in EFT and across video games as a whole. I don't know if there is a proper name for this mechanic, but to explain it quickly, you can, in EFT, reload weapons that you are not currently holding in your hands as long as you have magazines for it either in your chest rig or pockets. And to do so, you just open up your inventory, right-click the weapon you want to reload, making sure it's not in your hands, and the mag should automatically switch for a fresh one. Also, a random tidbit of information is that magazines will always reload from left to right in your chest rig, depending on which magazine has the most ammunition in it. But it's a very simple trick to pull off, and when in combat, can be an extremely effective way of reloading a weapon that you maybe got off another player or even a scav. And as cool and tricky as it can be, it doesn't make a lot of sense within the confines of the game itself. It definitely is a quirky mechanic that perhaps shouldn't work the way it does. Just hear me out. On one hand, something like this adds a layer of complexity to an already complex game. But this isn't something like artificial difficulty or ambiguity that we see present in other places within Tarkov. No, this is more like tech, something you won't use all the time but will pull out in a pinch if the situation calls for it. And stuff like that adds a small extra layer to the game that makes it just that much more interesting, which is cool. Games that have oddities or quirks makes them more compelling to play. A really simple example would be in the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, there were some weapons that when held would give you a bonus to your endurance while sprinting. For no good reason, they just do that, which hey, is cool. And while it may make the game that much more unbalanced if some weapons have these random passive buffs, it's part of the charm of these games, and something like that instantly reloading offhand weapons in EFT fits that description. But for those who don't know about it or get caught on the receiving end of a player taking advantage of it, the mechanic can feel kind of annoying to have to always think about. However, I also look at it from the perspective of if you're on the receiving end of this mechanic. You're in a fight with someone and you know they've used 2 different weapons worth of ammo, so you decide to push in because in your head they should be out of ammo and vulnerable, and then you swing the corner and just get tapped in the face. You knew he was out of ammo, but little did you know, he swapped magazines instantly and mowed you down. Now this could be, chalked up to them having a sidearm at the ready or another gun in like a little nest of stashed loot, but this would equate to playing some PvP fights in like a Souls game, and you know your opponent is out of stamina because he's using an ultra greatsword, and they can only swing 4 times before being out of stamina. So you try to retaliate, and he somehow swings 2 more times and beats you. It's an unintended interaction that can either save a life or cost one. I also understand that the use for something like this is so low, you might be able to actually benefit from it in 1 out of every 20 or so raids if you're lucky. It's not just an unintended mechanic or bug, it goes deeper than that in the context of EFT. Instantly reloading an offhand weapon isn't really a glitch or an exploit. It's not making you invincible or getting you to a place on a map you shouldn't be, but there is definitely a question of whether or not mechanics like these should stay or go. Again, they add some charm and flair to the game by creating more layers that players can take advantage of if they know about it. But inversely, it can undermine an engagement where one player should win because they're making all the right choices, only to get snuffed out right at the end. So while personally I probably wouldn't mind seeing it go away for good, I could also see the developers adjusting it in the future where trying to reload offhand weapons either takes a couple of seconds as does normally reloading, or it forces your character to pull out that weapon and then perform the reload. While slower in actively trying to get you sent back to your stash, it would be a little bit more grounded in the game where every action is deliberate, long, and should be intentional with the timing of it. So looking at it from both perspectives, I'm kind of torn. I know I just said I would be okay with its removal, and I probably would be, but I don't know, something about it is just cool. Having this piece of technology that you can bust out every once in a while that might save your life, those moments where you can utilize some interesting technologies are some of the best moments in any game. Again, it's not cheating or an exploit, just a strange and perhaps unintentional interaction between menus and your weapons. Ultimately, reloading offhand guns instantly has been in the game for a long time. It has never been fully acknowledged by BSG, and at this rate, it might not ever be noticed. There is credence to whether or not people want it to stay or go. It makes the game more interesting, but it also is just weird and can be the reason you lose a fight against someone who you thought was dead to rights. Perhaps the infrequency of it in general is enough to leave it in the game, but if it starts becoming more utilized and we see clips online of people wiping 3, 4, or even 5-man squads while utilizing the mechanic, perhaps it'll be time for BSG to take a look at it and really make the choice if it should stay or go. Either way, if you didn't know about it before watching this, jump into an offline raid and just give it a try really quick. It's kinda cool, and if you remember to use it whilst having 2 weapons, it might just save your life. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know down in the comments section below your thoughts on being able to reload your offhand weapons instantly, should it stay in the game or be removed, and be sure to subscribe for more videos about potentially unintended quirky mechanics in the game that haven't been brought to the forefront of a conversation about their inclusion in any game. I hope to see you in future ones.